short
Okay,
agenda.
TV, no.
No, no, I'm just saying.
Okay, I'd like to
Behave.
open the meeting for
We've got a quorum, so.
June 11th.
Yeah. Did you get a copy?
And we're gonna start off by, did everybody get a chance to read the minutes?
Yes.
I did.
Any
No comment.
comments or,
I'll
so
make a
No
motion to
comment.
approve the minutes.
Gino makes the motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, is there any correspondence? No?
Anything in here?
And-
Packets? No.
I signed that stuff. And we were in the middle of signing permits,
Okay.
but we can continue with that later. And then, any comments from anybody?
Nope.
Okay, so now we just have to wait 6 minutes for the public hearing for
Okay.
20 Sagamore Street,
Yep. That's all we have.
Sagamore
for-
Trail.
Only one.
Sagamore Trail.
Just in case. Another
Yeah,
one.
absolutely.
No, no.
7:20, we got the tobacco discussion.
This guy, Kirk.
Did you sign in, Annie, as a guest?
Oh, I didn't.
All right,
Oh, you did? Oh.
yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Gina, I started chit chatting.
No, you're right, you're lefty.
Which one?
Yes.
That's right.
Not to worry.
Okay,
Okay, Mr. Troublemaker. I think we have a few spots, something. I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you that. 5 minutes to recollect this one.
I have Kathy on. Next to that.
Yeah.
Is this, this
Mhm. Mhm.
is two-bedroom house, property, wetlands, basement.
It's all the 2 bedrooms.
I saw that they really cleared a lot of land over there. So,
Yep. Hmm.
different builder.
Mm-hmm. Haven't seen that one. That's interesting.
So this is the fill
Yeah.
easement, not,
Mhm.
and then that's the building.
Mm-hmm.
And this the deed restriction. Just double check that it says TWO,
Mhm.
the lot number. And make sure it says it.
let's we'll keep going. It's too long.
Yes, they're doing them,
There's
yes.
like 17 of them,
Yeah.
right?
What happens when you get multiple.
Mhm.
All 2 bedroom.
Thank you.
I hope they make it known to these people that buy these that they can't finish the basement.
Right.
Number 9, okay.
That's it.
So does everybody know about this, or?
Do you know that Janet's not gonna be here tonight? She has a family emergency.
I did not know that,
Okay.
that's, thank you.
Or that Joan isn't gonna be here?
And Joan, yeah, so the only
It's
part
not
of our
a discussion
meeting
tonight,
Yeah.
unless we wanna discuss it
is Kirk,
ourselves.
the main star tonight.
What for me?
We can still talk about the discussion, or discuss the tobacco, but Kevin's
Yeah.
not here either, so.
Yeah, I'm sure he wants to be here for it.
Yeah,
We'll do that next time.
okay.
Okay, we're just waiting for 7:10.
You got 3 minutes.
I have 1 minute.
Well, according to my watch, which is very, very close to the computer. The one over there,
I have
they
2
bought it,
minutes.
I don't know who bought it.
I'm going with 1.
Okay. This is gonna be a record.
This is gonna be his shortest meeting.
Okay, we just. I think I already did.
Okay, it's 7:10 and we can open the hearing on 20 Sagamore Trail.
This is the butter notification.
Oh, okay. Stuck those in here.
Will you know to the butters? You know the butters, right?
No,
Well,
no,
we're
no.
the agent representing all homeowners.
So I'm Kirk Fitzpatrick with Civil Solutions, and I'm here on behalf of the McLarens for their property at 20 Sagamore Trail. Basically, we have before you proposed upgrade to the existing 4-bedroom dwelling. The house is being sold and it failed the Title V inspection. Right now, it's got a small tank over off the side of the house here and a leaching area out in the front here. The house is serviced by town water, but there is an old well in the back, which is
You
actually
put in
going to
a
be
physical?
going to be formally abandoned as part of the work during the system installation. In the backyard, it slopes down towards the house, so it's really not an option to place a system.
Mm.
This is on the interior of the hill surrounding like Manawanaki. It's typically all sand and gravel around the perimeter, and on this hill in the middle, it's tighter material. So if we tried to put it in the back, I think it would be elevated and probably have a retaining wall between the system and the house. It's really not a viable option, so we stayed out in the front. So we did 2 test holes. The first test hole showed about 64 inches of fill, and it changed to loamy sand. And we had an observed water table right at the change. So that, and then the seasonal high water table was about 4 inches above that. And the second test hole was a little more natural. It had 24 inches of fill, and then the old subsoil, and then changed to loamy sand, and had a water table of 4.5 feet and observed at 64. So because the water table was high, we took a soil sample, ran a sieve test, and it came back as a loamy sand. So it gets designed based on a perk rate of 8 minutes per inch. It's the first perk rate in Class 1 soil.
You go from 4 to 4 feet, right?
I'm sorry?
From 4 feet to 4 feet, 2 feet? Yeah.
Well, we were designing it using the Presby EnviroSeptic. One of the things we are asking for is a reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet. I did talk to Jim Greffy about that ahead of time, and he said he was in support of it as long as the well got abandoned as part of the proposal. We took a look at the plumbing inside, which can't be changed. It's actually in a crawl space, so it's going to come out to a new 1,500-gallon septic tank. That's going to flow with a 1,000-gallon pump chamber and pump the liquid up to the Presby in the front yard. So the Presby is going to be 42 feet long and 10 feet wide. The edge of the pavement is actually, the property line is set back from the edge of pavement about 13 feet. It's a little bit deceiving, looks like the front yard's bigger than it is, but it's not. And then there's just 3 big oak trees across the front. So we maintain a 10-foot offset from the front property line with the system. But we are asking for a reduction in the offset from a full foundation from 20 feet to 12.5 feet. And we're gonna put a poly line on the edge of the 5-foot over dig on the uphill side of the system. And this, the poured foundation, is actually a newer part of the house. This was an addition added more recently. So we're asking approval from the Littleton Board of Health to allow reduction in the groundwater offset from 4 feet to 2 feet with the use of the Presby Enviro septic wastewater treatment system. Approval is sought under 310 CMR 15.4051B to reduce the requisite offset from the leaching area to a foundation from 20 feet to 12.5 feet. A poly liner is provided. Approval is sought under 310 CMR 15.4051I to allow the use of a particle size analysis to determine application rate instead of the required percolation test for area. And a variance is hereby requested from Littleton Board of Health Regulation 27 to allow fill required to meet minimum breakout grading requirements within 10 feet of our property line. So we're designed it with the Presby, and we went with the Presby for the groundwater reduction, but it also allows us to put in a sloping bed, take advantage of the slope of the front yard just a little bit, but it will have a little bit of fill in this corner. But at the closest point, the fill is going to be about 6 feet from the lot line, and it doesn't change the drainage characteristics of the yard. Right now, all the runoff flows down to this corner in any case.
So is it just the 10-foot, the design was fill within 10 feet of the property line that you're asking, or is it 4
No.
other variances too?
Well, we need approval
going
from the
from
board
4
to
to
go from
2.
4 to 2.
Yeah.
Local upgrade approval for the use of the,
And then from 20 to...
from 20 to
Mhm.
12.5 with the poly liner. And then local upgrade approvals for the,
That's for,
for the sieve analysis instead of the perk test.
Mhm.
And then a variance from your local regulation for the fill within 10 feet of the property line.
And you've got a barrier, a poly barrier in there?
The poly barrier is actually in between the system and the house. It meets the breakout grading requirements on the corner here.
Okay.
how many bed?
You want me to
It's a
read what Jim's-
4-bedroom.
Could I, just one question?
Yep.
Are there any abutters, I take it? No one's,
Nobody
Nobody's
here.
present.
They were all notified.
there were, okay.
Yep.
And the second question is just topography. Are there any wells in use in this area to your knowledge?
Not that I know of.
They use that
Oh.
town water, right?
Yeah, this area used to be all serviced by wells, and then they brought in town water. And it's, to my knowledge, the houses are all hooked up.
Okay.
They had to because of arsenic.
A lot of people left the old wells for irrigation.
Well, the engineer will know if it is a well anyway, and it's supposed to be 100 feet away from it. Sometimes we give a variance, but there's no well there. It's town
Correct.
water, period.
And the well is more than 100 feet, probably. Is that more than 100 feet from?
This is not more than 100 feet,
No.
and that's one of the reasons Jim wanted it formally abandoned,
Mhm.
because there's always
And are
potential
they
for somebody to,
would they use it for irrigation? Probably not, right?
they certainly could, but
Not
not once
anymore.
it's gone.
Yeah, okay.
That was part of the stipulation that Jim
Mhm.
thought, as far as granting the 2-foot offset, just because there's always a potential for somebody to drink out of the well, so.
Yep.
What do they do to abandon it? Do they fill it?
They do a bentonite seal, so they'll pull out the pump, pull out all the tubing and electrical, and they pour bentonite down to seal it.
Huh.
What's
They
bentonite,
go
like
through Jim.
Cement or something like that?
Yeah, it's a really dense material. I don't know much about it, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
That's about the
They
extent.
just fill it to the...
I think they fill it to the
Land.
level of the bedrock.
Because you don't want a baby falling in a well.
Exactly.
No,
that's-
absolutely not. It's a 8-inch casing. It's your typical drilled well
Oh,
casing. It's
okay.
not a dug well.
Okay. It's different. Okay, does anyone have any
What
other
did you say,
questions?
they had went in, there was arsenic in the wells?
Down at Manawanaki, they had a problem with that probably 20 years ago.
Yeah,
And the
that's,
town, at that point, had to bring town water down.
yeah.
Oh.
That's why they have a lot of
Hmm.
town water. But I don't know, anybody read it, the comment?
I can read it. These are the meeting notes from Jim Gareffi on 20 Sagamore Trail. The sewage disposal system for the site is in failure based on the Title V inspection conducted. Soil testing was conducted and its design was submitted to the review by this, and reviewed by this office. The site has a number of constraints which makes designing a fully compliant system impossible. Small lot size, small usable area in the site, back of the lot would be difficult to access. The applicant is seeking a variance from your regulation number 27 and local upgrade approvals for the reduction of the groundwater offset for the leaching area, 2 feet instead of 4 feet, reduction in the offset between cellar wall and leaching area, and sieve analysis in lieu of a perk test. The request will allow the placement of a sewage disposal system on the site without retaining walls and will help to minimize the potential for surface runoff toward the abutters in the street. A poly barrier will be placed between the leaching area and the collar to address the reduced offset between the two. Should 20 feet, I can't have my glasses. Should 20 feet.
Should be 20 feet, I think it means.
Should be 20 feet.
Yes.
12 and a half is proposed, okay.
Yeah.
The area is served by town water, and given the site constraints, I believe the request is reasonable.
Okay.
So I think I'd like to add about what Jim says, because about granting it as long as the well is.
Oh,
is,
add it to the deed?
Add that to,
As a stipulation.
yeah, as a stipulation, yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Motion was made. I'll make a motion to accept all those variances.
With the well
With the
being.
well, with the stipulation that
Yep.
the well will
Yep.
not be used.
Mhm. All right,
Someone want to second it?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks for coming.
Louise, you got it? You got any more problems?
Oh, we can sign this.
we got the permit already?
Yeah.
Did you pay for this?
I don't know if he's paid
No,
for it or not.
you owe,
Uh-oh.
well, you, but no, it's not paid for yet.
I'm sure it will be paid for.
We can sign it.
I'll give you a check.
Oh, good. Gee.
I know they're very anxious to get this in motion, so.
I think the buyer would come by tomorrow morning.
I think
He's
he
so
would
anxious to
too.
close.
So we want to add about the well?
Can I just write it on there?
Well,
I think
make a
you can
note,
write it
make a
initially.
note, make a note.
It's shown on the record plan to be abandoned, so.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
plan.
Well, Ben is different than sealed, right?
Actually, it's
Two
not.
different-
It formally abandoned,
I guess we should
they
have
get a
closed
permit,
it.
abandonment permit through Neshoba,
Oh, I see, so there was a, okay.
and the well company does it.
Okay.
So it's not just saying we're not gonna use it anymore,
Good.
so,
So it's a certified type of thing?
yes.
From the, oh, okay.
So what do you think, Gina? Do we add to it? Do we
Just-
handwrite it, or do we just put a little note
Put a
to add
note,
it?
put a note.
So they'll type it all up again?
And then, right, when they get the permit, then they will get the addition to make sure
Okay.
the well will
So I
never
guess
be used.
we can't sign it until they add that.
If it's stipulated as part of the variances, does that suffice?
It wasn't one, was it?
No, but in your, typically, in your records, the minutes reflect that it's, the variances are granted with the stipulation that the well be abandoned.
I
I
don't
just
know.
want to be
It
on
doesn't
the,
say here.
just
I
be
just
on the
wanna-
safe side.
Yeah, but
I'm
you should
sorry.
have, you should have put us, but not to worry, put it in.
Without the administrative assistant, it's,
The administrator will take care of it.
just want to be on the safe side then.
Okay.
So when would the permit become available?
I don't know.
Okay.
Actually, Janet has a family emergency, so she's out for a few days.
Okay.
I don't know, but I don't know if Shelley could
Yes,
take over for her. I don't know.
Okay.
yeah,
Sorry.
just ask for the permit, and Shelley will come and make sure you bring the check.
Okay.
Is the process, I got the impression that the process to seal the well requires a separate permit and a separate operation?
Correct. Yeah, there's the well abandonment permit that they'll file with Neshoba.
Okay, so that's a separate activity than what's contained in this permit, correct?
Mm.
That's my understanding, yes.
So the permit, I may be off base, but I'm
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
Well,
understand.
the permit is for the
Septic
septic system.
Just for the septic system, full stop, but you would have to go then and separately get a, shall we say, the okay, or shall we say certification that someone's going to close the well.
That's correct, and they can't get a certificate of compliance without the well being abandoned, because it's a stipulation on our plan, and it's a stipulation based on the variance being granted. So I would think you could sign the
Yeah,
permit, but
see, I
that's-
think-
I'm not gonna tell the board what to do.
To me, what we're discussing here is, away from the variance, which is contained in the report, then unfortunately, there's a separate activity that.
Yeah, is that something that's gonna come to us, or does
No, I
Jim's
think
office
Jim
just take
handles-
care of that?
Yeah, see,
handles
that was my impression that I was getting from reading all this stuff. that
Because they
there
would
was-
contact a company like Skilling's to come out
So,
and officially do it.
so theoretically, and, you folks know more about this than I would, we could approve, but he still has to go for a second, and they're not contingent.
They're only contingent when it comes to issuing the certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
The certificate of compliance will not be issued until the well's been abandoned, so
Yeah.
it will happen.
I've never run into this
Yeah,
before.
we did it before, but the administrator will take care of it, as long as we put it on a note. Everything's fine. That well is
I can
closed,
sign
it's not
if
being
they-
used.
If they need, what do they just
And it
need,
has
3
town water.
signatures? Do they just need 3 signatures, Gino?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
Just 3 signatures?
Yeah.
Cause I could, if they needed to, if
Yeah.
they email me, I can come.
If
and
it is a
watch it.
problem, they're gonna let me know, if they're gonna call you, they're gonna do.
Okay.
Should I have Jim call when he
No,
works
Jim-
it?
No, we'll call.
Okay.
I'll
Jim
call
didn't say
tomorrow.
anything
I'll call the
about it.
office
Okay,
and
I just know
speak
they're
to
really
Shelley.
anxious
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Because Jim already knows that.
Yeah, no, that he does.
All right, so this way is not in a comment, no comment from Jimmy at all. When he says the area is served with the town water and the given the site.
It may be that we can
drain.
just sign it as is,
Yep,
and,
It's not
We just
separate.
wanna make sure that it
It'll be
says,
fine.
there's nothing on the
Okay.
permit that says
All right.
anything.
We
I'm
had a
sorry
case-
that,
no, that's okay.
We had a case like that before, a long time ago.
But
All right.
The
Thank
well is
you.
closed, if they wanted to open it, and they wanted to use the water for whatever, they still have to come back here,
Okay.
okay?
you can do anything
You
anyway.
take care.
You do? Thanks.
Well, no, they can start the,
Yeah.
they can start the.
I know, if that has nothing to do with the septic permit. That's a completely separate permit that they can.
It is a
Board of Health
separate permit.
afterwards.
And they have to do a compliance
And
thing
then Jim
afterwards.
Gurecki won't sign
Yeah,
off
but
on the
you're
compliance.
on to the point I was trying to make, which was, it's wonderful, you could, the picture I have is you could go there and construct and fulfill put in the Presby system and have a ball with it, then step back and say, okay, you're not done yet, and a separate
Jimmy Gurecki
activity.
will
Doesn't
not
sign
get a
off.
certificate of compliance.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is that we could sign this that gives you okay, go ahead and,
Mhm.
I
you've
think
got
that's
the
a great idea.
variance.
do you wanna take,
Yeah,
do you wanna, I think we have to open it back up, cause we closed it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it's closed.
So,
Well, what if the board would assign the permit and hold it
Yeah, and then you double check.
until you
it.
double check with Jim?
yeah, so I'm gonna make a motion to,
Reopen.
reopen the hearing.
Mhm.
Anybody second
Sign
that?
it, second, you sign it, we sign it.
And, so we're going to sign this permit as is.
In the
Does
event
somebody
that-
wanna make a motion to do that?
I'll make a motion to sign the permit for
20 Sagamore?
20 Sagamore Trail, and then with a hold pending, be informed that
The
you
well.
can,
That
that
the well be abandoned.
Yeah, the well will be abandoned, yeah.
And a well abandonment permit.
Yeah.
Shall be
Maybe that would be,
applied for,
that way you can theoretically, well, it doesn't achieve the objective I'm after, but at least get you halfway out the
She
door.
would have made us,
Anybody will second that?
I second, but the question is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just to make a mapping, go ahead, sign.
Okay.
Still has to be paid for.
Yeah.
We'll get to it.
Well, Kathy will pay.
We'll take
Kathy's
care
got
of
the
that.
money tonight. You can't even sign.
I know, I can't.
You
Joel signed
X.
for me.
What'd you do?
I got a new shoulder.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure.
Well,
Sorry for the confusion.
No, that's okay.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Be safe.
Okay, so now we'll make a motion. Does anyone want to talk about the tobacco regulations at all?
Well, tobacco, we already discussed it, but the question we were talking about was the drugs, which is marijuana. That's it. The state allows.
No, we didn't finish all the tobacco regulations.
Yeah, I know, but the question is, Janet said that the lady should be here too. So,
Right.
you know, so I think we should postpone it until she come and make another minutes.
So she's gonna be here the 25th.
Yeah.
How, do you have any sense on how far along this board is in reviewing the document and deciding, are we
We have-
85% there, 20% there, nowhere, or?
I don't think we've had a discussion really as a
really
group.
have, yeah.
We haven't had a discussion about it.
Okay,
We really haven't sat and talked about it.
because I noticed there was stuff checked off that I thought, when I walked in on it, I thought that the board had said, oh, these are good provisions, yes, 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 but apparently that's not the case.
No, I think those are probably common things that everybody else is doing, so I
Gotcha.
think
Oh, okay.
or things that are just automatic, like one of the things was a sign, you know, to
Yeah.
make sure that everybody knew that, and that's something that the tobacco, people, the merchants already do.
Yep.
And I guess, did they know that, did they know? We should tell them, they should be notified, don't you think? Tobacco merchants.
She probably
should
does it
know.
in the, yeah. I'll ask
I'd
that.
like to have it, like, some
Discussion?
time, I'd like to have some time when she comes back on the 28th to discuss it amongst ourselves. She can be here, but
Mhm.
for us to discuss it amongst ourselves with a little bit of guidance from her, and, because we hear what she has to say, and we never have a chance to discuss it.
Right.
We never do. Because she talks about, and she goes very quickly through the list trying to get us to finish it up.
Yeah,
But we don't have time to sit and talk about it,
yeah.
so.
And then I guess the marijuana thing, they said, and we don't have any jurisdiction over that, so.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make just one comment about the adventures with marijuana, and that is that, given that our title is the Board of Health, maybe the question should be, what, if anything, should we be doing that is not, shall we say, blocked or prohibited or nullified or in another way prevented, but is worthwhile for the town? And, you know, is, for example, I'll use the term broadly, education. Are we in a position, or are we out of the game even for that?
Mhm.
Because, and here, just reflecting what I've read, is that the cases for and against and all that having to do with the effects of marijuana, it's not settled. And I'm not suggesting therefore we should stop everything, it's just that people should be aware of things that are not settled.
Well, you
Hi,
didn't-
folks.
You didn't get the memo.
You think,
Oh,
unfortunately,
You have.
no memo?
You don't have any.
the
Direction.
tobacco, Joan.
Let's just vote right now. Okay.
Are you the spokesman for your little group?
You know what? No one really knows about it. And then Joe from Convenience, he had a science fair for us.
Actually, we should, now we have to open up the discussion for tobacco.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, Joe had a
Well,
conflict.
hold on one second. Okay, so I guess we're gonna open up the discussion for the tobacco regulations,
Even
which
though-
was at 7:20, so we can open it, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Archer.
It was just that Joe couldn't make it tonight, and
Okay.
he had a conflict with his with school.
So Joan from the state, she couldn't make it tonight either.
Okay.
She's trying to get some information from the town,
Okay.
and she couldn't get it.
Then we
So
will
So
work from there.
she's rescheduling till what, the 28th?
the next
The
meeting
next
is the
meeting.
25th, I believe,
Okay.
June 25th.
June 25th. Okay.
So she should be here for that.
I'll see if Joe can come also. Am I allowed to talk about anything, one of these regulations?
You will.
I just had one comment, if that's okay.
Yeah, you can,
Okay.
you can, just
Okay.
give us
We
more
opened
comment.
it, you can.
Yeah,
Um,
we're just discussing it, we're not,
No decisions.
No, that's fine.
here, public hearing or decisions or.
I think the minimum price, I was looking at things closer to, I think the minimum price, I'd like to see it stay the way it is, with no minimum price
Changes.
changes. And the reason being is, I have a place in Air, and that went to $5 for 2-packs. And people just
What are we
simply.
talking about?
For like, yeah, the
Wrappers or
wraps.
cigars or-
Yeah, the cigars, the wraps. Your minimum has to be $5 for a 2-pack, and Ziegler has to be $2.50 plus tax. And $5, people are just like, I don't wanna buy, 4, if it's a 4-pack. 2-pack, I guess the minimum is 5, but if you buy a 4-pack, then they said, we open up, they get stale, I don't wanna do that. And they'll just go over the border, they'll go online and they'll buy them. So people don't wanna open them up and they'll go stale, so they're not gonna buy, or they don't, it kinda kills sales when you go to $5 minimum. People are not gonna pay $5 minimum.
I see.
So that's a concern of mine. I looked at it closer, I talked to some people, and they said, I wanna buy a 2-pack or a 1, I don't wanna buy 4. And that just, I think it's making them smoke more. Like, well, I don't wanna go steal them, I also smoke them, I guess, so. So right now, I'm $1.59 plus tax for a single. Like a Black and Mild or a 2-pack. But to go to $5 is kinda, I think it's kinda high. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay.
So, but it has hurt sales in Air. Even the tobacco person said, it hasn't, it has.
Mhm.
So, and it's all something to keep things in the black and help the bottom line,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
All right, folks, so the 25th.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks for making it tonight.
Do you, I was just wondering if you have an email that you want us to, you'll come, you'll send
I'll
your,
come.
okay.
7:30?
I just found out when I came in that she wasn't coming, so
Okay.
we.
Yeah, that's not a problem. I live close by, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Nice seeing you. Okay, see you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, so.
Did you want to go back to
Well,
marijuana?
no, before we do, this is, again, I'm trying to get the connections here, and that is that, is the purpose of the tobacco control, I'll put it, is it to try to limit the use of tobacco products because they are in fact dangerous? Is that because the argument just provided to us, which is from an entrepreneurial point of view, leaving out health issues makes perfect sense. But from a health point of view, having a minimum and forcing, as it were, something to suppress the sales or to make the sales more difficult is precisely, quote, what the intent, is that the intent of those regulations that we're being presented with? What I'm trying to understand is where are we heading with this?
We haven't been able to talk about it like that.
Okay, I mean, I just,
In my opinion, she's trying, she called it the seduction of the youth, and that's, to me, that's what they're trying, what the regulations are trying to do is help curtail, prevent young people from smoking.
yep.
And making it difficult, raising the age to 21, not grandfathering the age,
Mm-hmm.
limiting the flavors and, the wraps and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
and yet I'm totally sympathetic. I
Yeah,
have sympathy
yeah.
with someone who's in business, and if I remember, he made the remark that he doesn't let his family smoke. So
Yeah.
Okay, and, this is not, he's not carrying, his job is not to carry the burden of the tobacco industry, please, this is not the idea.
No, but his burden is to make sure that only 21-year-olds buy
Right.
tobacco products, so.
Right. So, I just find I can hold conflicting ideas in my head at one time, but I find this one curious because I'm trying to understand what the role is of the proposed tobacco regulations that we're trying to understand.
Mhm.
What's the
Mhm.
point of it? It's not quite clear yet.
Okay.
Maybe it is to you, but it's, you know, I mean, maybe it is to our group, and I'm left out because I'm bringing in the rear, so we're late to the
Well,
game.
it is something that we can go through
Sure.
and discuss it.
Yeah, I think we, like I've said before, we're the Board of Health, and we should be concentrating on health, but the state allows people to buy
To
cigarettes
buy
at 21, so
Yep.
if you really were that interested in health, then you would ban cigarettes totally.
Completely. And drugs,
completely,
too.
You know, but you can't do that, so.
You can put a lot of regulation, the question is that, okay, we put it for 21, right? They want cigarette, they drive to New Hampshire, Maine, different regulation they have there.
Mhm.
If somebody wants something, they're gonna get it.
Mhm.
The question, we do the best we can to control it. You might control a little bit, you might help somebody, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna.
But then, you know, do we have to answer to our constituents too, like
Right.
Mr. Archer? You know,
Right.
he's a, you know.
We're doing the best we can.
Yeah.
I think you have to be fair because he's
Yeah.
gonna compete with other stores. He's gonna-
Right,
Mhm.
but like the marijuana is mandated by the state.
Okay.
Littleton.
You got, I mean, this is probably not the time to do it. We should have everybody here, so we each take turns and do it.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation, but is it our job? Is it really our job to worry or to focus on the economic impact health regulations have on vendors? Is it really our job to do that?
On the economic.
Yeah, because that's what we're doing. We're in effect saying, and there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with feeling that, but if you're on the healthcare side or the health part of it, which seems to be our mandate, we should be paying little or no attention other than how much does it cost to impose a regulation. In other words, how much does it cost in terms of enforcing the regulation? I mean, I could see us worrying about, oh, one of the regulations requires someone standing there the whole 24/7 watching everybody. I mean,
Mhm.
okay, that's a great discussion to have about enforcement.
Mhm.
But here, we're feeling justifiable sympathy for a vendor in his business.
Right, right.
He's more concerned to see how much he can sell and everything. Yeah, I understand.
No, yeah, I mean, I
He's
don't
a
think there's any
businessman.
misunderstanding here. It's just a question, when we say we can do the best we can,
Yeah.
what is it that we're supposed to be doing the best at? You know, vendor protection or health protection? I mean, you know.
I mean, I guess we should be health protection.
Yeah, we should, you're right. Hope,
That's,
yeah.
you would think so, but, I'm sorry, didn't mean
No,
to
No.
hijack the,
No, that's
interest.
fine.
If you want to go back to marijuana, we can smoke back to that. If you want to wait until later, it's,
Yeah. That's too bad. And the marijuana is not much, he can only regulate, they only tell you, well, we gave you 2 licenses in Littleton, we gave you 2 licenses in Westford, and then probably in Boston, they get 6 licenses. But because the state mandate is, and if we complain, it's not gonna do any good.
Well, it's related to how many liquor licenses we have.
That's true.
And Westford voted at town meeting not to have marijuana at their school, at their town, so.
in their school,
In their
yes.
school.
But like Mike says, education, if we would be able to educate the people in Littleton and say, you know something, do you really want marijuana in a small town? You know what I mean? If we educate it and what harm does to you, or for my health, if it's here for the health, you go to another town and get it. I mean, I have to go to another town for my doctor, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Why should I have everything around me?
Well, marijuana, unlike alcohol, I'm just going to look at it from the enforcement point of view because it helps back into a problem, into the fact that if someone is drinking, it is a detectable, at least a detectable, we have a technique for detecting alcohol remains in the blood and elsewhere, all right? That is not the case for marijuana, because marijuana, when it breaks down, it can remain in your system for a long period of
Right.
time, and it has no relationship to the original dose,
Right.
right? And that's really, you folks probably already know that, or no relation.
That's
So
why, yeah, that's why you have to
So.
take a drug test.
So when the,
That's why you can't
what's
smoke
sort
for
of
60.
weird is that if let's say someone's driving erratically, and the officer believes or thinks he can smell something in the car,
You can smell.
there is no test. The
No
driver
surprise.
could simply say no or yes or whatever they want to, and there's no verifiable test at the moment. So just for the plain enforcement versus alcohol, there's a big gap.
It is.
Right.
And the other problem, which was illuminated by the come lately, the folks who came late onto the scene, it was right up in the Globe, and by pure coincidence, I read, for other reasons, the papers that they were citing. These are all people who are addiction specialists, and they're against marijuana because they have there is in the literature some evidence, okay, anecdotal it has to be because research is limited on this everywhere, that people who are prone to schizophrenia are more than likely to develop the symptoms and begin behaving that way following prolonged exposure to marijuana. Okay? And then the list goes on. How for some people it means nothing, to others it leads to other disorders and I mean, it's a mixed bag, no clarity. And the problem is the active substance in marijuana is a real psychotropic. And that doesn't mean it just affects, quote, what we usually think of as the brain. Okay, it affects other organs as well that I know it's bad news, we think with other parts of our body and not just the brain. And so it's a mess. And so just what I'm telling you tonight is the kind of information that I don't know how much is out there.
There's so much out there, because on the other hand, they're saying that for people that are addicted to heroin,
Mhm.
that marijuana may be a good option to get off of the heroin.
You just put the
So-
caveat in there,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Well,
And
the same thing with
Or they go-
may.
Or they go from marijuana to cocaine.
No, wait, before you
Totally
jump there,
different.
before you jump to all this stuff.
Yeah.
The evidence for the connection between marijuana and the onset of symptoms of another disease, it's not cause and effect, okay?
Mhm.
It's basically, they're correlated. But no one's done enough studies, I mean,
Right.
to do it. I'm not sure anyone knows how to do it. Because what's being administered is a mixture. What's being administered is,
And there's so many variables too.
yeah, I mean, the only folks who are ever gonna know what's going on, and they're not gonna say anything until it becomes, they figure out a way to make money from it, to be blunt, are the pharmaceutical firms who have the ability to isolate in quantity the active ingredient, or to make an active ingredient the equivalent to THC. So they can do a methodical test and start, at this dose, this and this happens. Even then, to me, this is on a par with a lot of the stuff associated with other mental disorders where it's very difficult to diagnose. Very, very difficult to get anything except correlation. And educating, it's basically a education about risk, not about, oh, you shouldn't do it. If you do it, these are the suspected risks.
Yep.
But we're out of the game.
Yep.
You can close the conversation. and
I'm
make-
sorry. Yep.
Make a
No,
motion to
let's-
adjourn.
Don't be sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Well, you wanted to adjourn.
I want to adjourn.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.